Hello everyone and welcome to another movie review by Centipede Geek. In this video I'll be talking about a film by the name of Malignant, and the director is James Wan. If you don't know, he's known for creating and directing the Insidious franchise, Conjuring films. He originally directed Saw back in 2004, so he really has a lot on his plate. And in my opinion, he's really revolutionized the horror genre and really popularized it, especially when it comes to films such as Saw or Insidious, as I said earlier, in The Conjuring. He's really created this really neat universe with especially The Conjuring and Insidious, where the films are connected. It's just this really neat thing that he's created. So here we are again. He's hit the horror genre with *Malignant*, and I don't want to spoil too much about this, but I remember reading some stuff on different reviews and stuff like that online, to where this is James Wan version of an Italian giallo film. And if you watch some of my other videos, then you would know what that is. And just to kind of give you some backstory on that, I'll talk about that later on in the video. But pretty much what *Malignant's about, it's about this girl. She's got this very abusive husband, and I don't want to spoil too much, but she has this sixth sense where she's able to see into the eyes or see into the mind of a killer, and she's seeing, as these murders are happening, she is seeing everything from her own point of view, as it almost drops her into these things. So she's trying to convince the cops that, hey, I've seen these things happen. I have this sort of intuition onto what's going on. That's pretty much the main plot. Now, as I said earlier, what did I mean when I said giallo? Well, if you're not informed, giallo is an older word. It comes from a word by the name of yellow, if I'm not mistaken, and it came from an older sort of crime fiction mystery way of storytelling, a bygone era that doesn't necessarily exist anymore, or should I say doesn't really exist at all. Most of your older giallo films were obviously older films that range back from the 70s and 80s and 90s, or the early 90s, that is. You think of directors such as Dario Argento, where they call him sort of the master of giallo. And a lot of these giallo films, like I said, originally comes from the word yellow, and originally comes from books and movies that had this very crime thriller way of storytelling. They didn't always necessarily have to be horror, but they had sort of a very crime thriller storytelling that normally revolved around a serial killer of some kind, as you see in this tale, where people are being killed. So they normally revolved around a serial killer. They were always very bloody. They had a certain feel to them. And like I said, from stuff I read online, James Wan wanted to do his own version of a giallo tale that, for the most part, the first hour does feel like an old giallo movie with the camera angles and stuff like that. It has that sort of older crime fiction vibe to it. But if you've seen the last hour of the movie, or should I say the last 30 minutes, all the giallo stuff gets dropped out the window, and it just becomes a very bonkers film. What did I think of *Malignant*? Overall, I really liked the movie. It's one of those movies that it's going to, in my opinion, to divide the audiences. You're either going to love the film or you're going to hate it. If you look at it strictly as if you're trying to say, is the movie a giallo film? At the end of the day, no, it's really not. It's not. Like I said, the first hour, it has kind of a slow burn vibe to it, but that last 30 minutes or last hour or so is completely bonkers and off the wall. Crazy twist ending. Now, it does have a twist ending that some giallo films would have of the past, but definitely not a giallo film that last hour. So if you're looking at it that way, you may not necessarily like it, but if you watch it just strictly from a fun horror film that's got a really crazy ending, some very bloody scenes at the end, almost like Resident Evil-like, whenever she takes out that trophy that she's turned into some sort of dagger or sword, and she's killing people with it, doing cartwheels off, the sides of buildings and stuff. Very crazy things. Rotten Tomatoes says, although *Malignant* isn't particularly scary, director James Wan return to horror contains plenty of gory thrills and a memorably bonkers twist. Audiences say that love it or hate it, and there isn't much in between. *Malignant* is one horror movie that takes risk and is willing to get weird, and I could definitely agree with that. It's willing to get strange. I have to say, I really like the first hour. The tone of it's really nice. And that last 20 minutes, I was like, okay, let's just kind of, don't worry about the plot. Don't worry about certain things. Let's just enjoy the movie for what it is. And I have to say, that last 30 minutes or so is very enjoyable, bonkers and off the wall for sure, very bizarre as we find out that the killer is actually a parasitic twin that lives on the back of her and it's taking over her mind and stuff like that. So that was crazy. Best scene in the movie is probably got to be when they're in the jail cell and, she starts to kill all those female prisoners. That was a very crazy scene. If I had to pick anything that I wasn't necessarily too fond of about the movie, and that's probably some of the use of CGI or special effects blood and stuff like that. I didn't mind it, but I didn't really think it was very necessary. If we're wanting to go for a movie of older style, maybe using more practical effects would have made more sense, because you can definitely notice some of the CGI and stuff with the way the serial killer moves and stuff like that. And it has a very supernatural feel to it, even though our character doesn't really have powers. It seems like there's some sort of supernatural powers that our serial killer has. They do leave it open for a sequel, Malignant 2 or whatever they're going to call it, so I'm curious to see where it leads. But like I said, if I had to pick anything, it's the way the character or the serial killer moves at times, especially towards the end when there's a lot of that special effects being used. It would have been kind of cool to see them tone down on that maybe, but that I think it's the whole point of the ending. That's, like I said, it's what it's going to divide audiences on, is that ending. Let's give you guys a better definition of what the word giallo means. I felt like I explained it pretty good earlier, but I want to give you the text of what the word means. So let's look on here. Like I said, giallo originally comes from the word yellow. Thanks to France's Gietta Gialli, or what they called yellow vest. So like I said, that's technically what the word giallo means. So I just wanted to kind of let you guys know. And it originally comes from an adjective, yellow, or detective. Like I said, that crime thriller where it follows a cop. And then the noun, the way it would be described, once again, yellow, and then sort of a whodunit tale. And like I said, that's what the older stories, such as maybe Deep Red, if you guys ever seen that one by Dario Argento, or Suspiria, or any of his movies, he does that giallo very well. And if you want to, give giallo a definition where other people can understand it, just tell them it's more of a older whodunit sort of style that focuses on a cop and stuff like that, trying to figure out what's going on. Anyways, thanks for watching another movie review for my film review by the name of Malignant. You can watch it now on HBO Max. It'll be available for about the next month or so, I believe. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe below.